Earlier this year, something very interesting happened. Lamborghini put out their global sales numbers. Okay, nothing special about that. Those sales numbers showcased a big jump in sales. Again, nothing new about that either. But what was interesting was India numbers were there in that global release. India sold over 100 Lamborghinis, and that put India on the map of luxury car manufacturers. Bentley in particular. Now, globally, they do around 15,000 cars a year. Lamborghini, in contrast, does around 10,000 cars. But in India, Lamborghini outsells Bentley, and Bentley aren't having any of that. So India's now on focus for Bentley. They are going to start more activities in India. There's even talk of Bentley moving under the Skoda Volkswagen National Sales Office, not the importer arrangement that they have currently. And headlining all those activities is this, the new Continental GT. This is the Continental GT Speed, which gets what Bentley calls the ultra performance hybrid, makes 1000 Newton meters of torque, also has an 80 kilometer EV only range. And Bentley being Bentley, this is as opulent Grand Tourers get. We are in Switzerland on some fabulous driving roads to test what Bentley claims is the best Grand Tourer in the world. We start with the biggest change on the Continental GT Speed. Gone is that unique W12 engine, and in comes the twin-turbo V8, which gets plug-in hybrid assistance. Power goes up to 772 bhp, torque to 1000 Newton meters. This Bentley claims is the most powerful car they have ever made. 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds and 80 kilometers of pure EV range. Over 3 generations, the Continental GT always had this twin headlamp look, but now for the 4th generation, it goes to this single eye look with this prominent DRL, like an eyebrow that cuts through the headlamp and splits it into like 4 different elements. So you got this diamond crystal thing on top, the LED, the main technical lights, and also more crystal elements below. It does look very distinctive, very different from the 3rd generation for sure. More formal, more upright grille. 22-inch wheels with the design inspired by tiger claws. And of course, we have spinners. The oval lamps have now become an ellipse. They've been stretched out horizontally to give more width to the car. Also, you get these oval-shaped tailpipes, and inside, if you look, you get quad exhausts. Just our luck that as we start to film, it starts to rain. So we got to get the roof up quickly. Don't want to mess up the interiors. And these are gorgeous interiors. Now, the architecture remains unchanged from the 3rd generation Continental GT, but obviously you have better material quality, better finishes. In fact, there is so many levels of personalization that if you go to the extreme, Bentley says there are 40 million different options that you can put onto the car, like different kind of wood veneers. If you don't want a wood veneer, you also get a stone veneer, which has been sourced from India. So if you want an India special, you can do that. You get a digital cluster, but the graphics are of an analog dial, so that looks really cool. And if you want digital detox, press the screen button and you get these 3 dials. And when you switch off the car, all of that disappears and you get this flat expanse wood veneer on this version. Like I said, stone veneer. You can have different leathers, different color piping, you name it, and you can go for it. If you have a specific color of your wife or partner's nail polish that you want to match the exterior color to, that can also be done. The Mulliner customization program is extensive. And for the first time, the GT convertible as well as the coupe are both being launched at the same time. You can also get the roof up while you are driving. The new engine is obviously the big talking point, but you start off in this new car in pure EV mode. So you get 80 kilometers of pure EV range, and you can do up to 120 kilometers per hour. In fact, it's only after you press the throttle more than 75% does the engine come on. And the other big benefit is the reduction in emissions. So the W12 engine that put out 320 grams per kilometer of CO2, here you get 32 grams per kilometer of CO2. So that's a huge reduction in the emissions. And then when you get onto an open road, put your foot down more than 75%, and this car really moves. This is the most powerful Bentley ever made, and it moves like stink. Launch control, you floor the accelerator, and the way it takes off is just insane. This is like a 2.6 ton Grand Tourer, does 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds, top speed of around 330 kilometers per hour. Immensely fast. 1000 Newton meters of torque is just a massive amount of pulling power, and it sounds fantastic. So I'll just knock it down a few gears. None of this is piped through the speakers. It is pure exhaust noise, and it's a meaty, muscly, growly, properly sporty noise, which gets enhanced when you drop the roof. So just sounds fabulous. So this engine is obviously shared within the Volkswagen group, but Lamborghini, they've tuned the engine for power, outright power. They use the hybrid system for power. Bentley has used the hybrid system for that 80 kilometers pure EV range, and that gives them tax benefits. Porsche also used the same engine, but their tuning is somewhat in between Lamborghini and Bentley. So all three brands use a different tune on this engine. And in fact, with this engine now being core to Bentley, Bentley probably has the largest volume on this 4-liter twin-turbo ultra-performance hybrid. The second part of the powertrain is the gearbox. This is an 8-speed twin-clutch automatic gearbox with the e-motor integrated into it. The battery pack, 25.9 kilowatt hour, and that's mounted at the rear. So the additional weight of the battery pack finally delivers a 50-50 front-rear weight distribution. The turbocharger is now a single scroll turbocharger with an e-motor again integrated into it. So that spools up the turbo quickly, all but eliminates turbo lag. The responsiveness of the motor, that's brilliant. There is this question of whether third generation to fourth generation, is this just a facelift with some technical advancements or an all-new model change? And Bentley say that third to fourth generation, 64% of the components are new. So they insist that this is an all-new generation. That said, the chassis remains the same. It has been carried over. This chassis is shared within the Volkswagen group, so even Porsche has the same chassis, but their tuning is obviously different from Bentley's. Porsche have also updated the Panamera, which gets the new active chassis system. And I spoke to the Bentley guys, asked them, why didn't you also use the active chassis system? And they said that that could have been delivered for Bentley, but the time to test would have been very tight. And with the Continental GT forming 1/3 of all Bentley sales, this was too important a model for them to experiment on. The Continental GT, obviously, it is all-wheel drive. It gets Bentley's active suspension system, so 48-volt system with active anti-roll bars. From the 3-chamber system, it's now a 2-chamber system with separate compression and rebound damping control. Over these roads, obviously in Switzerland, you're not going to find any potholes, but even the surface changes, the way this smothers the road surface is fantastic. It gets rear wheel steer, which gives it really crazy maneuverability and agility for something so big and so heavy. Huge brakes, one of the largest size brakes fitted to a road car. The new Conti GT is not just Bentley's most powerful car, but it's also Bentley's most advanced car. As Bentley grows the business in India, it's obviously SUVs like the Bentayga that's going to fuel volume growth. But it's Grand Tourers like the Continental GT that's going to grow the brand imagery. And that's why this new car is so important. It's going to come to India in the first half of next year. Prices start at 6.8 crores. Now, this is a little bit more than the earlier W12, but the V8 engine, the ultra performance hybrid, it delivers more power. It delivers a beautiful soundtrack. It delivers lower emissions. It gives you better fuel economy. Of course, fuel economy is not a real priority for buyers in this segment, but you get 20% more range, which is a good thing to have. And it suits the nature, the character of the car so beautifully. Monstering up these alpine passes, the amount of torque on tap, it just flattens the hills. And of course, the opulence of the cabin, the comfort. This is a Grand Tourer par excellence.